Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. Today's guest is Amy Huser, and today's episode is how one nurse used her nursing acumen to become an inventor and innovator.
And I think what I've learned from traveling to Dusseldorf and being able to present the product to the EU and then traveling to Dubai is that there's a tremendous amount of inequity and disparity in healthcare around the world. And not every country is going to be a country that can afford this device to reduce infections. And that could be the next interesting portion of this, would be able to get involved in some way to provide this to countries that could otherwise not, to protect their patients.
Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. Nurses, are you ready to break free from the grind and build something of your own? It's time to take your skills beyond the bedside and step into entrepreneurship. Join our webinar, Break Free, the Nurse's Path to Entrepreneurship, where you'll learn how to shift your mindset, explore your nurse-owned business ideas, and get the exact steps to launch your own business. This is your time to take control of your career and create a future you love. Seats are limited, so grab yours now. Break free and join the Nurse Shark Academy at thenurssharkacademy.biz. Hello and welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining the confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Join us to support these wonderful nurse entrepreneurs and leaders. Today's guest is Amy Huser, and did I pronounce that right?
Close. It's Huser.
Huser, okay. For Spigot Guard, and Amy is a nurse, inventor, and scientist. All right. So welcome to the show. And Amy, always as we ask our first question, what made you become a nurse?
Well, thank you. And thank you for this platform. I appreciate what you've done to provide this voice for nurse entrepreneurs. I think that I always knew I wanted to be a nurse. I come from a medical family, and I can remember from the time I was about 4 wanting to take care of other things. At that time, it was largely stuffed animals in my room. My father was a physician, and I can remember about being 4 or 5 when they bought me a costume that was a nurse's costume, and my father would take me to the hospital rounding with him while I was dressed up as a nurse. So very early on, and that journey continued with working at the Soldiers' Home when I was in middle school, volunteering there to push people around in wheelchairs. And after that, I was a candy striper. Following that, I was a nurse assistant or CNA, did that in high school, and then on to ultimately a career in nursing.
That's great, because a lot of people, that listen to the show, we've got people that come into nursing from all different areas of life. There are people that knew when they were born, this is what I'm supposed to do. Then there's others that discover it along the way. But it's great that you had role models in your family to encourage you to go into the healthcare field. And I bet your dad was very proud of you when you graduated from nursing school.
Well, unfortunately, he had passed at the time that had happened, but I'm sure he's aware in some sense. And I came from a medical family, and I'm proud to say that I have my oldest daughter is a physician, and I have another daughter who is a nurse. And I have one son who's in business, and then another son who is in the process of applying for PA school. So it goes on to the next generation.
And you know what? It's always great to see that. So how did you transition to becoming a nursing assistant in high school? Was it a class that you took in school or?
Exactly. Yeah. We had an opportunity our senior year in high school to take half days and get over to the hospital and get trained and then work. And that's how I spent my afternoons my senior year in high school.
And it takes a lot of discipline in order to do that, because a lot of times students are quite sure what they want to do and to figure it out. So, but it sounds like you knew where you were headed anyway.
Yeah, I think so. It's always been part of my heart.
So where did you go to school to get your nursing degree?
So I have a degree, a BSN from Purdue University.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So fellow Hoosier, which I failed to mention that. And so, yes, I'm a Purdue fan.
Good. It's basketball season. It's a good time to be a Purdue fan.
Yes, yes. And so that's great. And so that's where you got your bachelor's degree from Purdue. What was it like standing on that campus? I'm just always curious.
Well, Purdue University is an enormous campus in West Lafayette, so it's a lot of walking. And other than that, the hospital systems were great and supportive, and enjoyed my experience, and was just really proud to finish and be able to practice.
So what was your very first job when you got out of nursing school?
My very first job out of school was in Fort Wayne, and it was at Lutheran Hospital on a med-surg floor. So everybody had made the recommendation to start out on med-surg, that it was a great learning environment. And that's true. I mean, I found it to be true and enjoyed it. And from there, I went on to work at a burn center. And then I came back to Lutheran in coronary ICU, and then moved from Lutheran system to Parkview, and that was all in Fort Wayne. And then I came down to Noblesville and started working in the Indianapolis market.
Okay. And so in your journey as a nurse, I'm pretty sure you saw a lot of different things over the years. What kind of stood out to you? Maybe a patient that you've seen a difference was made in their life, or maybe working with a colleague or a mentor that's made a difference in your life. What kind of stood out to you in your nursing career early on?
Early on, I would have to say the biggest difference that I've seen over the years is that when I began, there wasn't real reverence for the hospital environment. When you walked in, and the expectation was that you would take care of patients. This was back in the day when there were 8-hour shifts. Remember that?
Yes, I miss them.
We do 12s. But there was a reverence. And there was, when I started out, and I don't know if it was leadership or just my coworkers, but there was an expectation for high levels of performance, and a standard to always do the right thing, no matter how pressed you were for time. But I was also back in a day where we had unit secretaries, when we had phlebotomy teams, when we had IV teams, and carrying a 5-patient assignment was a little bit less hectic than the demands are now in those environments. So I think that's what stood out the most and was most impressive for me, was that there was kind of a sacredness to being at the bedside and taking care of sick people.
I think that it's kind of changed today, where everything is so fast paced. There's a lot more technology involved than there used to be. I remember having to learn to count IV drip.
Yeah, by drips.
And do all those things. And now I don't think our nursing students could ever do that, or even understand if you had to go back to that. If technology were to get compromised, how are you going to handle those things? I notice that whenever we have a downtime and the computer goes down in the hospital or at our clinic, it's like they don't know what to do.
Right. It is, it's foreign for them to revert to paper charting and have to make an assessment and document paper for all of those things, for medicines. EMARs, having a paper MAR, all of those things are challenging when we get our technology taken away. Absolutely.
Yes. And so being in the at the bedside and working so long as a nurse, what made you decide to go into this different direction of entrepreneurship and developing your product, because I'm really fascinated about how you did that, and kind of introduce your product a little bit to us.
So Spigot Guard is a single-use device I designed to reduce catheter-associated urinary tract infections. It works by disinfecting and protecting the drain of the urine collection bag, which is a vulnerable bacterial entry point. When you and I first spoke before the podcast, we talked about how there used to be a standard of practice when that drain was emptied, that we would take an alcohol prep pad to the outside and the inside of that drain. And even sometimes to the pocket as well, before returning the drain to the pocket holder on the bag. And through the course of all of my years, starting when I was 17, this practice began to fall off. And in fact, now nurses are not even instructed to perform that honor system care for that drain. And I just, by observation, could tell that it was posing a problem, and especially in our kind of our dirtiest of environments, in our ICUs, in a burn center and things like that. And so I began to just research the problem. I think what started the journey was that I was an empty nester and I was single. And with that, how was I going to fulfill my time and purpose in the remainder of my career? And it was just something that always bothered me. So I began to do my own research, and my research supported my observations. And then I began to just figure out, how do I solve this problem by providing something that will protect patients and empower nurses who are always asked to do more with less, with a tool that they can use that will be easy to adhere to and observe compliance. So that's where I started.
I think that's great, because as I mentioned before, I was training my CNA class, and I was teaching them the procedure. And of course, I've been doing this for years, so the procedure's in my head, right? And I taught them to clean off the tip. And then I realized on the official procedure, when they redid the curriculum, they took that step out.
And they took it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been dropped. And it's really dropped from the majority of CAUTIS bundles. I did a lot of research to see what existed online that I could get my hands on that would support that practice still. And there are a few YouTube videos and a few teaching institutions that maintain that practice, but by and large, it's gone, including the hospital where I currently work. So that was the goal, was to take a standard of practice and make it better. And bring it back to block that intraluminal bacterial ascension.
Okay. So how did you go about, because I know there's probably nurses out there that have ideas about wanting to invent something or make something. How did you go about developing that? And just kind of talk us a little bit about the process of how you brought it from idea to fruition, because a lot of times people don't know where to start.
Yeah. So I really would, I feel like, be making a mistake if I just did not say, first of all, that I feel like this has been a very blessed journey, that the right people have come into my path at the right time to allow this to move forward. And I really have to give credit where credit's due. And I think that's the Almighty, really, at this point. But when I started to think about a solution, I was definitely inspired by the Kuros cap. And you and I talked about that, where we talked about it. There's a cap that is for IV tubing that goes on the needleless hub to protect that hub, because they had determined that people were pushing an infection into central lines by not properly cleansing that club with that port with an honor system cleanse that was supposed to be performed. So it was very analogous infection and a very analogous problem that was being neglected with central lines. And so I saw what they did there, and that was really probably the starting point for me. So I knew I wanted to have something that contained some alcohol foam pieces in it that would do the disinfecting, but then also the portion of the cap remaining on the drain so that it provided the protection that was necessary as well. So I started in the very most basic ways, not knowing anything, and that was to reach out to some kind of a designer that could help me create a prototype. And I went to Facebook, as simple as that is, and reached out through a small network asking for a local person who could assist me, and was directed to a young Purdue engineer. His name is Wesley Bullock, who said he would be happy to help me. And he came to my home, and we sat at my dining room table and ordered prototype pieces from China based on our measurements, and sat there together at my dining room table assembling pieces, working with Loctite glue, working with different layers of foam, silicone, alcohol to create a prototype. And that's how I started. Once I had a prototype that I felt like was satisfactory, I went to try and find a manufacturer. That was the next step. And really had very good luck with finding a manufacturer. And about the third company that I talked to, out of Miami, Florida, a company called Dematec, who is a medical device manufacturer, spoke with the president after one day of reaching out via email, and he was interested in the project. So once I had somebody who I felt like could make it, I needed to go find funding. And again, was just introduced to somebody who was interested in helping entrepreneurs, particularly in the medical device field, and started a, friends and family lending round on convertible note, and then moved to a private placement memorandum. And I just feel like the process just began to pull me rather than me pushing it. And so we just continued to move from there to the point now where I have a machine that makes the device down in Miami. I have a multi-cavity mold that a 32 cavity mold that we can produce 15 million devices annually on 1 8-hour shift. We've just moved forward. I will tell you also too that I have a very important member of my team, a physician named Dr. Kelly Hyatt. She is a head and neck surgeon at Community East Hospital, and she is also a PhD microbiologist. She was completely instrumental in providing some research that proved the problem for us, for me, and for my investors. Even though there was a lot of research out there, she collected our own, confirming the problem by internally swabbing that distal end of the drain in the ICUs, and also did her first study for us, our first small study she performed for us at Community, where we gathered information about efficacy and certainly patient safety. So I've been blessed. We've had an opportunity to launch internationally. Dematec is a company that has distribution and sales in 135 countries around the world, where CAUTIS are a global problem. And our device is a global solution. We fit up to 90% of the urine collection bags manufactured around the world. So they were a natural fit and have been extraordinarily helpful there too. My advice is to just keep chipping away. And if it's meant to be yours, those doors will open and the right people will come in to help you, further your journey.
Well, I just think that's wonderful because you're a nurse, you saw a problem. You're a nurse working in the field, and this is why I really wanted to bring you on, because a lot of nurses will say, I'm just a nurse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And you and I talked about that. We talked about the hierarchical, mostly patriarchal environment of the hospital and its culture. Just a nurse is a reality. It's very hard to get traction, I think, with your ideas as a nurse. I would say further as a female nurse, more difficult. Yes. And people don't want to believe in your solutions, but I think they also don't believe in your ability to execute. It's not just having a good idea, you have to execute. And I think that physicians aren't businessmen themselves. And so for them to look at a nurse and think that they could be a businessman or a businesswoman is even harder for them to wrap their heads around. So, but it can be done. And we talked about the importance that we're on the front lines. We're there with the patients all day long. We're working in the environment. We're facing the challenges. We're seeing the obstacles and the problems. And I'm sure that there are a variety of nurses who in the past and in the future will think of solutions to those problems that we face. And you have to have the courage to move forward.
You are so right. I mean, I just think of all the ideas that are out there. Like, I had the idea of a dart gun for the psychiatric unit, but nobody will listen to me. Just kidding. But I always thought it would be safer for them and safer for us if we could just use a dart gun and we don't have to get too close and get hit.
That's right. Redirect them that way. Yeah. I'd say you might want to think of something else, Tina.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I do. I think there are lots of problems to be solved, and that nurses are ones who can come up with the solutions. And you have to just believe in yourself and your own observations. Trust them, and then do your best to move forward with a plan to try and put everything together. It's a lot like having a giant block of ice and swinging an ice pick at it every day till you try and get to the middle. I mean, that's what I feel like I've been through. But in some respects, I feel like the journey's pulled me too. I've done the work, but I've been assisted in tremendous, ways with people that have come into my life to help.
Now, I want to know, how long has it been? Because I think a lot of people are looking for instant success, and that's not always there. How long was it from idea to where you are right now?
So I would say, honestly, that I've had the idea for about 12 years. That really, when I saw that standards of practice and adherence to best practice were falling by the wayside, I felt like this was a problem that needed to be fixed. And then, honestly, I went through a divorce, and with my kids grown and single, I really prayed a lot. What am I going to do? What will my purpose be now? How will I fill my time? And I've had a lot of experiences that have been very spiritual along the way. And I just felt pulled in this direction to move forward. So from start to finish, 12 years with the idea. And then honestly, I would say working on it diligently for the last 4.5 years, from getting Wesley at the dining room table to me to, recently coming back from Dubai, where I introduced the product to the Middle East and North Africa, which just seems insane to say.
Mm-hmm. But see, I wanted our audience to hear that part of your story, because I think a lot of times I have an idea, I'm going to get it out there, get it to market really quick, and that may not be the case. It takes time to build the prototype. It takes time to find the manufacturer and investors, and prove that your device works and that it's needed. So you had to get the research behind it. But you were capable of doing all those things, even though initially you may not have thought so. But look at where you are now.
It's one step and, after another, one foot in front of the other, and you just keep moving forward. And each success presents its own new challenge following that. So you finally have this, and now you ask yourself, what's the next step? And you have to just continue to move forward. And like I said, sometimes you feel like you're bumping into closed doors, but a lot of prayer and reflection and creativity. And the next thing you know, you continue to move forward. You just can't give up. Giving up cannot be an option.
That is so true. And I know that you are at the moment of looking for additional investors, is from our last discussion. And we talked about the nurse hackathon that they have. And that may be around, but I would be surprised if one day we didn't see you on Shark Tank.
You're funny. I'm hoping we're kind of beyond Shark Tank in that sense. And, to be honest with you, I don't know if Shark Tank dabbles in medical devices. I don't think I've ever seen anybody on there that is pursuing that kind of innovation on that show. I will tell you, and I did get permission to discuss this before I was on tonight, and another blessing to count. Last Friday, so a week ago, 2 doctors were into Dematech, that manufactures my device, to meet with the president there about another project they were working on. And in touring the manufacturing environment, the president, his name is Lewis, introduced my machine and my device to these 2 physicians. They're a father-son surgical team out of Miami, Florida. They are world-renowned oncology surgeons with multiple publications behind their names. and they fell in love with the device. And
Wonderful.
so they will be the last puzzle piece to pushing us through the remainder of our expenses related to the multi-cavity mold, initial production runs. They'll serve as investors, advisors, in board of directors positions with us to take this all the way through to success. And so we're there. We're really there by the grace of God.
It's, you know what, you never know when you're in the right place and you keep going and you keep doing, you never know if someone's going to walk in and be the answer to what you need right then and there. And that's happened for me, where I just happen to be there, and suddenly someone's come in and I've got a new legal case, or I've been introduced to someone who now needs my help with, on their business. And you just never know.
You don't know. And those aren't accidents.
No.
No.
That's called providence.
It is. And you have to really begin to trust that. And yes. I think the other really important thing for me that I learned along the way is that there isn't anybody who has power over your purpose. There isn't anyone. And the naysayers, the people who may not think you're capable, the people who think that it's not a good idea, the people who I dare say might not wish you well, mm-hmm. They're powerless over your purpose. And so you just have to believe in yourself and trust that this journey will unfold. And I'm living testimony.
Well, I just think that's wonderful. So, once your business starts to grow and thrive, I'll be looking for your next product because now you know how to do it. So you can find another problem to solve.
Well, I will tell you what I have learned, because someone asked me that question, what happens next? And I think what I've learned from traveling to Dusseldorf and being able to present the product to the EU and then traveling to Dubai is that there's a tremendous amount of inequity and disparity in healthcare around the world. And not every country is going to be a country that can afford this device to reduce infections. And that could be the next interesting portion of this, would be able to get involved in some way to provide this to countries that could otherwise not, to protect their patients. And so again, things just tend to take hold and unfold before your eyes. And when you have one piece figured out, something else tugs on your heartstrings and, introduces another problem that needs your attention or could use your attention. So we'll see what happens one step at a time. But the doctors I was just referring to are Horacio Asbin and his son, Dominic Asbin. And I'm just so grateful for their interest so quickly in the company at this point, that we've really needed this last push to complete everything to get out the door.
Well, I just think that's great. I'm just excited for you and your company. Now, if our listeners were interested in your business and your product, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, the product can be seen on Demetech's website. It's DEMETECH. Demetech, and they certainly have product information and availability on there. My website, we've had such rapid changes since right before I left for Dubai and back, that I pulled it off to make some updates, and it should be going live again early next week. We've had our clinical study, like I said, that demonstrated efficacy and patient safety, and that needs to be on there. As well as the addition of these board of directors. And so we're just I'm holding off for some of this legal stuff to be done. And then I can be reached, amy.huser at spigotguard.com is my company email address. Great. I would help anybody in any way. It would be such a gift to be able to give back through this journey.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. And so last question that I have If you had a piece of advice for a budding entrepreneur or inventor, what would it be?
Great question. I think trust yourself, trust your observations, trust your contribution. And obviously, I never once put a paper and pencil together to try and figure out what this device could make. My intention and my motivation was pure patient safety and providing something that would keep patients, safer. So maybe the money is not shouldn't be the incentive. Maybe the incentive should be wanting to make a contribution either with services or goods in a way that will be meaningful, and maybe the money comes later. Obviously, everybody's concerned with supporting themselves or something like this, but there's if it's the right thing to do, I think that all the puzzle pieces will fall together.
I so agree. I want to thank you for being here and sharing your story. And it's always great to have a fellow Hoosier on here. I was excited when I found out about your product. I think I was reading an article or something and I saw it. And I'm like, oh, wait, I got to meet this person. I've got to bring her on the show because, first of all, you're homegrown. But second of all, I love the idea of it.
Thank you. Thank you. You recognize the problem too, and you've seen the change in practice. So you can only imagine that bacterial ascension that enters through that access point, can and does cause infection.
As a person who works with older adults, I've seen it firsthand how devastating it can be. You get a senior who has a urinary tract infection, and now they can go into urosepsis. There's so many different things that can happen. And if we can figure out one way to just minimize that, I think we've done something really great. And so I'm excited.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think the thing that's exciting about the device too is that it spans the continuum of care. So we serve acute care, long-term care, rehab, and for the first time, the home user who has a chronic indwelling Foley catheter has an opportunity to protect the drain of their leg bag or their home bag. And in fact, when that Foley catheter is separated by the home user and they maybe switch from a leg bag to a night bag, we also work to disinfect and protect the open end of the tubing of the other end of the unused bag. So we have multiple uses. And like I said, we have some efficacy already demonstrated. We'll be doing some additional study work with the doctors that are coming on board in Miami. And we just really hope to demonstrate a cost savings and patient protection. And again, don't forget the nurses. It's about the nurses too. Giving them something is convenient. Yeah.
Saving some time.
Yes.
Making it easier.
Here to best practice. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's the goal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's a win-win all the way around.
Thank you, Tina. It's so nice to have your time. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I was excited to find you two through Alignable. Your platform, giving this voice to nurses who are out trying to make a difference by innovation is important.
Definitely. I just think this is awesome, and I can't wait for your episode to go live. So we'll definitely be working on getting this out. And I just want to say to everyone that's out there, if you're thinking about having an idea to invent something, go for it. Nurses are awesome. We have superpowers and we can do anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Believe you 100%.
Well, I want to thank you for being on our show. And those of you that are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and then hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever our show goes live when we upload a new episode. Those of you that are listening to us on Podbean or wherever you get your podcast, please leave us a like or a comment. And also, if you want to become a patron of your show, we would greatly appreciate that. And we'll be having some behind the scenes things and some merchandise for you. We've got some great new t-shirts for the Nurse Shark Academy, especially for our patrons. So those are some things that we have coming up for you in 2025. I thank you for coming and I thank you for your time. This has just been great.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I love your logo.
Oh, thank you. Shout out to my cousin who's a graphic designer.
That's perfect.
Yes. All right. That's it for now. We'll see you next time, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ready to turn your nursing skills into a thriving business? At the Nurse Shark Academy, we give you expert strategies, real startup guidance, and the support to go from employee to empowered entrepreneur. Join us and build the nurse-owned business of your dreams. Start today and join us at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the nursesharkacademy.biz.